what's up DIYers? Mike Borders with the Mike Borders channel. Thank you for watching. We are talking boats today. We're going to show you that brand new set screw that you have to install when you transition to the newly designed sealed gimbal bearing and install it in your transom. Let's take a look. Alright DIYers, at the Craftsman Workstation, and we have been busy. On the left hand side you can see our outdrive fully rebuilt. However, in this video we're going to talk about the new set screw that is designed to close off the grease passageway to the old style gimbal bearing that was greasable. Again, MerCruiser has transitioned to the newly designed greased and sealed gimbal bearing. As we get closer to the bench you can see a lot of parts. And we've got our bell housing. We removed all the bellows, cleaned it up. There's our water tube and old bellows. There's our water hose, very dry rotted. Again, we've been busy. Here's all of our schematics, following it to the T per the service manual. However, coming over here is the OEM or Quicksilver set screw, and there's the part number down below in the comment section, as well as the description section will be a link on where to purchase this. And what you do with this set screw is, after you install the brand new sealed gimbal bearing, you will then remove the grease port or fitting that allows you to hook up a grease gun to it and feed grease down the system and into the gimbal bearing to again properly grease the gimbal bearing. You will then install this, and basically what it does is it closes off or shuts off the entire system, alleviating any possibility of any grease getting into that passageway and making its way to the gimbal bearing. And as you can see, a grease gun can't hook up to it and cannot push grease into it. So with that said, what I want to do is go out to the boat and show you the gimbal bearing and where that's installed. In the garage to the back of the boat, and again our outdrive is still inside as we just showed. And we are just shy from installing our brand new grease seal, which we don't need. Long story short, because we're making that transition to the newly designed sealed gimbal bearing, we do not need that seal. However, if yours is in there and you're making the transition to the sealed gimbal bearing, leave that grease seal installed. Do not take it out. However, if you're staying with the traditional or standard greasable gimbal bearing, down below in the comment section as well as description section will be a link on how to remove your seal and install a brand new one. And there's the grease hole right there, and on the outer portion of the housing, here's the passageway, and then it feeds all the way out to where you hook up your grease gun to insert grease into the passageway, all the way into the housing to properly grease the gimbal bearing. However, again, we are going to close that off. Here's our brand new gimbal bearing that is sealed, and you'll know it's new if it has a yellow dot right here. And when it comes time to install this, it has to be positioned at the 10 o'clock position per the service bulletin and service manual for, again, this brand new design sealed gimbal bearing. Alright DIYers, here we are in the service manual. This is the electronic version, and as you can see, the top picture is the old style gimbal bearing. And take a look at that letter B in the black bold circle and that arrow extending out of that circle. As you can see, it points directly to the grease hole in the old style gimbal bearing. And below that you see A, B, C, D, the carrier grease hole, tolerance ring, and the opening in the tolerance ring. However, going all the way back up to the top, number 2, install and position new tolerance ring as shown. Align opening in tolerance ring with grease hole in carrier. And again, they give you the pictorial image there for your reference and to help you become familiar on how to install your gimbal bearing. And in addition, let's go down below. You see the important in black bold, which means that sentence right there is probably important. And it reads, ensure that notched edge of bearing carrier faces inward in bore when installing gimbal bearing. Down below that, align gimbal bearing carrier grease hole and tolerance ring opening with grease cavity hole in gimbal housing. As you can see with the pictorial image below that, just as shown above, you've got A, B, and C to help you become more familiar with how that gimbal bearing is to be aligned, inserted, and secured inside that bore or cavity. And below this, very important, you'll see a note, and we talk about this during our full bellows replacement and gimbal bearing install because it is extremely important. When fully installed, there must be at least 1/8 inch or 3 millimeters of bearing bore exposed behind bearing carrier. And to your advantage, we discussed that in this video because again, we found that to be very important. So now that we've talked about the old style or OEM original style gimbal bearing, what I want to do next is transition to the service bulletin that talks in detail the newly designed and sealed gimbal bearing. DIYers, here it is, the MerCruiser Service Bulletin. And this is bulletin number 2009-13. The OEM number is 2009-08. And the service bulletin was sent out to all the service managers, the technicians, and part managers, as you can see with those black check marks in the boxes. However, let's scroll down, and again, this is the new Permalube gimbal bearing for Alpha and Bravo transoms. And below that, you can see all the models covered. And I'll scroll down to the situation. Mercruiser transom assemblies are now equipped with a sealed, permanently lubricated, which in short is Permalube, that's where it gets its unique nickname, gimbal bearing that does not require maintenance lubrication. Current production transoms use a Permalube gimbal bearing and do not require the grease fitting on the gimbal housing or the grease retention seal in front of the gimbal bearing. In DIYers, we talk about that several times in our full bellows replacement videos, which also included us replacing that seal and gimbal bearing. In addition, the specified Permalube gimbal bearing is the replacement gimbal bearing type for all transoms. Replacement Permalube gimbal bearings come with a special plug, which was later renamed set screw, as you just saw, to replace the grease fitting. When replacing a lube-style gimbal bearing with a Permalube bearing, it is necessary to remove the grease fitting from the transom and install the special plug, which again, the plug is now renamed and titled as set screw. And below that, you can see where you can order parts and the previous part number and now the new part number. Below that is the correction, and all that is a picture or image of the starboard side gimbal ring where the actual grease fitting is installed. And this is page 1 of 4. There's a lot of additional info. As you can see right here, here's the perfect seal. You will use that to apply to this set screw right here on the thread to create an awesome watertight seal to alleviate any water from sneaking inside that grease passageway and making contact with the new Permalube gimbal bearing. And here's the part number down below in the comment section as well as the description section. Will be links on where to purchase the perfect seal as well as the required tamper resistant or security bit, as you see here. And you've got A and B. A, as you see right here, is the grease passage plug, and B, which is right here, is the T20 Torx tamper resistant recess. And again, another name for that torque bit is security bit. I'll continue scrolling down, and I'm going to come to this image here. As you can see, here is that yellow dot, and I've got A and B, again with our specific serial number outdrive, the newly designed Permalube gimbal bearing that is compatible for our specific outdrive and replaces the old style gimbal bearing is this one right here with the yellow dot. And DIYers, with that said, this is basically a brief description of the service bulletin itself. Scrolling above right now, as well as down below in the comment section, as well as description section, will be a link to a video that discusses more in-depth or detail of this exact service bulletin. So if you have time and you're interested, we definitely recommend checking that out, as it may be helpful to you, because again, we cover additional information on the new Permalube gimbal bearing that we don't cover in this video, which include additional Bravo transoms and additional serial numbers, so definitely check that out. Alright DIYers, here we are out at the transom, and coming up here, there is the security set screw. As you see there, inside the center portion of the set screw is a pin, and using just a normal torque bit, you cannot loosen or tighten that. As you see here, again, you need that securing bit. And the sole purpose of that is to alleviate technicians just assuming that you have the lubricated gimbal bearing as opposed to the new sealed Permalube gimbal bearing, and removing that set screw accidentally and pushing grease into the system when it's not supposed to be greased. So again, I just wanted to show you a close-up view of the set screw inner pin that again requires that security set screw bit. And to the pegboard, as you can see here, most if not all of these parts are left over from recent DIY videos. And here it is. The 33-piece tamper security bit set. And down below in the comment section as well as the description section will be a link on where to purchase this. As you can see, it has holes in all of the T-bits. Again, security bit set. And they do that again to alleviate any mechanics or technicians or DIYers from accidentally removing that set screw and pumping grease into the system. You don't want that. And that's it, DIYers. We hope this helped. Do us a favor, below the video, you will see that thumbs up icon. Click on that, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Definitely ring your YouTube bell. That would be very helpful to us. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching.